Today's a day where we honor and we celebrate moms, but we also want to honor and celebrate women. Thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for doing those things, those special touches, those things in life that just make life so much better. Thank you for making a house a home by all the little things that you do. Thank you for wiping boogers and wiping booties and all the things. And thank you just for being who you are. In preparation for this, I was trying to think of some things, like what are some things that all women would have in common? And it kind of depends, maybe your style and whatnot. So I thought clothing, that's really, a lot of different styles and age ranges and different things. So then I thought maybe about some jewelry, but again, lots of different styles and things out there. Then we thought about purses or bags, or now it's like the fanny pack thing again somehow, and all these different things. And then I landed on one that I thought was a good one. All women have this in common: shoes. Shoes. How many women in the house would testify that you got a lot of shoes? Look at that. Look at that. Today is, as we talk about women, we talk about encouraging them, uplifting them. I want you to know this right from the get-go, that we believe that God has positioned and qualified you. We believe that God has positioned and qualified you. We're going to be in the book of Esther today. And if you have never read the story of Esther, can I just tell you, you absolutely need to. It is an incredible story. They literally have made movies about it because it's so fascinating. There's all different kinds of things in there. We obviously don't have time to go all through that today because I know you got Mother's Day plans you want to get to. So I'm going to give you some highlights of this story. Let me set the background. The people were living in the Persian capital, and what was common in that time was if a nation had conquered other nations, you would then bring large quantities of that nation into your own to assimilate them into who you were. And so what had happened was the Jewish people had been conquered and had been assimilated into this Persian empire. And there was the king of the Persian Empire. His name was Xerxes, and he had a wife. And he was having some sort of a banquet, some sort of an event, and he invited all these people there. And he wanted basically to put his wife on display. And she was not having it. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to just let you go do that to me. And so here's what happened. The king stripped her of the queen title and then banished her. This was intense, all right? It's not like a normal day marriage. So then the officials of that empire said, King Xerxes, you shouldn't live on your own. We need a queen. So let us go throughout the community and we will get a collection of the most beautiful young women that we can. Then we will put them through beauty treatments. We'll put them through schooling. We'll put them through formal education, all these types of things. And at the end of 12 months, then you will be able to select a new queen out of this. So King Xerxes said, okay, that sounds good to me. So what had happened is they started rounding up some young women in the empire. And then one of those young women, her name was Esther. And Esther, she was brought into this, but here's what you need to know. She was Jewish. She was one of those that had grown up under this occupation by the Persian Empire. So they bring all of these people in. Now, Esther, she had been raised by her older cousin named Mordecai. We don't know what happened, but Esther's parents had died. So Mordecai had raised them. Now, when she gets submitted into this competition of sorts, she hides her nationality. She hides it because she doesn't want to be persecuted. She doesn't want that to have any negative effect on her. Now, after the 12 months go by, and these women are given opportunity to basically kind of go interview with the king, all of that. Esther is chosen. She's received favor. She's received favor in the king's household. And so he makes her queen. I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, plot twist. There was a bad guy named Haman. And Haman was the second highest ranking official in that empire. And he was the type of guy that wanted all the credit. He was the type of guy that wanted people to come to him, to acknowledge all his authority, to acknowledge, that he is second in command. He wanted people to bow down before him, all of these types of things. What you also need to understand is that Haman did not like Jewish people. In fact, Haman had an encounter with Mordecai where Mordecai refused to bow down. And so because of that, Haman was so insecure and angry about this that he then goes to the king and through some manipulation basically convinces the king that he should sign a decree that would wipe out the entire nation of Jews. And the king signs this. Now, back to Mordecai, the cousin of Esther. He finds out about this decree that on such and such a date that this is going to happen in the land. So he sends word to Esther, who is now queen, and he is trying to enlist her help because maybe the position that she's in, maybe she could cause something different to happen. So he reaches out to Esther, and this is where we're going to be. We're going to be in Esther chapter 4, starting verse 11. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. Okay, so Esther, she's a queen, but here's what you got to understand. This is not like what you would think of a normal king and queen, of England, all that type of stuff. This is not how this was. She didn't even live with the king. Basically, when the king summoned her, that's when she would be able to go. He hadn't summoned her for 30 days. So when Mordecai says, Esther, you need to go reach out to the king, she's like, if I show up without being summoned, he's going to kill me. And Mordecai is trying to stress the importance that if you don't do this, we're all doomed. So Esther is thinking through this. Well, what happens? Well, if I do show up, what could happen? And there was a rule that if the king extends the gold scepter, then that means okay, I'll hear you out. But if he does not, then she's going to die. This was a big decision for this young woman to make. Esther 4, verse 13. Mordecai sent this reply to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this. I believe that God has called and equipped and qualified every woman in this place today. Whatever role that you play in life, he has called you and equipped you for such a time as this. Now, I started off earlier today by asking how many of you like shoes. So we're going to show you a bit of a shoe collection here. This is a bit of my wife's shoe collection, and I will have to apologize later because I didn't ask permission to do this. Please forgive me. So I've been married for about 16 years and about 2 weeks, and one of the things that I ask all the time, because I'll go and I'll see the collection. Why do you have so many shoes? Man, have you ever asked a question like, why do you have so many shoes? And this is the answer I get. I need a shoe for every occasion, right? You gotta have the right footwear for all the different things. So we're gonna show you a few different options, all right? So we got the boot. This is maybe you're going line dancing or something in town. Maybe you're on a ranch. Maybe you have a horse and you are ready to go. And you got the right footwear for that, all right? You don't wanna get your tennis shoes messed up. Then we got a very casual, but yet it's got a little shine, a little glimmer action. And so it's a little bit dressy, right? It's kind of that dressy casual that you can wear in a lot of different situations, but it's also, got the high backing on it. So, a little bit more fancy there. Then you got like the practical. So say, hey, I'm going on a walk, or I'm exercising, or I'm going on a hike, or whatever it may be. Or like, then you just got the practical shoe. You got your workout shoes so that you are ready for that occasion when the time comes. Then you got to have your sandal wear. Now, sandals can have a wide variety, from very like practical, like a flip-flop type of thing. You're going to the beach and you want it to be able to walk into the sand. And then you've got something more like this. This would be more like a Roman type sandal. It's got the straps, but yet it's a little bit fancy, right? This is good for the summertime. You want air conditioning for your feet because it's starting to get hot outside, but yet it still looks classy, all right? All the women laughing at me. Then you got a shoe like this. This is straight up fancy. This is like you're the cowgirl, but you just fancy cowgirl, all right? So this is worn with like amazing things, and it all white just stands out. It pops out, right? It's a good choice. Then you've got just a fun shoe. Any of you got fun shoes that are just colorful? Like it's kind of an everyday type of shoe that you could wear, whether it was to work or whether it was just for fun. You're doing some things, but kind of a multi-purpose, and you could wear this with bright colors, all right? So if you like bright colors. Then we have a shoe that is very important in our household. This is a slipper. Now, the reason this shoe is very important, because about 20 months ago, when the Lord called us to this place called Tehachapi, people told us that there was some weather, and they weren't lying. And in fact, more weather happened, I think, than they anticipated as well the last 2 years. So if you will look inside this slipper, it's got some padding, it's got some warmth inside of it, because we have 8 months of winter. And when you live in like a typically sunny area at all times, your feet get cold. So this is a very practical one. So you need a shoe for that occasion. And then my favorite shoe. Bam. Now, here's why this is my favorite shoe. First of all, ladies, I am impressed when you can even wear a shoe like this. I mean, putting like your calf muscle in that position all day long, the sacrifices that you make to look a certain way is incredible. Then you look at this, it's classy, like, hey, this is like major fancy, like this is date night. Maybe you're wearing like, that fancy dress or whatnot, and it's cool. And like, but again, you are putting yourself in a position that no man would ever do, right? We would not wear a shoe if it was this uncomfortable, but it does look good, right? And this is a multi-purpose shoe, because if you didn't know, all you have to do is turn it around and it becomes a defensive weapon. You can then hit somebody in the eyeball and take them out. All right, would you just give a round of applause to my wife for letting me show off her shoe collection? And by the way, how many of you know that's not the whole collection, right? Like that's like 2%. So I show you these shoes because you might be thinking, you need a shoe for every occasion, right? And I also want you to hear this. You need strength for every occasion in life. I started off by saying that God has positioned you and qualified you. Whatever role that you're in, whatever position you're in, God has called you. He has equipped you for that time. He has given you exactly what you need. He is the strength that you need for every occasion. Now, Esther, she was an orphan raised by a cousin. She was a foreigner. She was a Jew living in a foreign nation. She was a young woman, then kind of thrust into this queen role and trying to figure out, why am I in this position? I don't understand why I'm here. Like, God, what's the reason I'm here? What do you want me to do? What's my purpose for being in this position, God? Perhaps you relate to that. Maybe you're in a position in life right now where you're like, God, I don't really know why I'm here. I don't know why I find myself in this role. You know, her cousin said, perhaps you are in this place, in this position for such a time as this. What if we start to look at all the different roles and all the different positions that we play in life? Whether it's as a teacher, maybe God has positioned you in that school to be the light of Christ, to love on kids, to show them who he is, even when you can't say the words, but you can show them his love. Maybe you're a coffee barista and you're the person that you're making coffee, or you're handing it out at the drive-through window, but you can just add that little bit of brightness to somebody's day, bring an encouraging word. Maybe you're somebody who's a crosswalk attendant. And can I just tell you, as a father who drives kids to school, thank you, crosswalk attendants. And you are taking your life into your own hands when you stand out there, because some people don't pay attention. But thank you for protecting our kids. Maybe you're a mom in this place today and you have little kids and you are in the thick of it right now. You are not getting enough sleep because they're not sleeping. You are feeding them all the time. You are tired of wiping boogers and wiping booties, and you are just in the thick of it. And you're like, God, why am I in this position right now? Maybe you're a businesswoman, or maybe you're a grandma. Maybe you're a nurse or a social worker, a paralegal, a therapist, a designer, a college student. Whatever position you are in life right now, I want you to know that God has positioned you and qualified you. Oftentimes, we go, God, I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. Why am I in this? And I just want to let you know, if God has called you, he has qualified you. On those days when you're at the end of your rope, remember that he has called you and that he has qualified you. Whether you're running a company, whether you're mopping the floor, do it to the best of your ability. This is what scriptures tell us in Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. And then Galatians 6:9 says this, let us not become weary. Any weary moms in the house? Weary in life, weary in worrying about your kids or your household, whatever it may be. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Back to Esther 4, verse 15. Then Esther sends a reply to Mordecai. Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I must die. So Mordecai went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. Okay. My second point to you is this. God will strengthen you as you reach out to him and to others. So Esther, she's hit with this huge thing. Hey, the nations, all the Jews are going to die. So what are you going to do about it? And so what does she do? She wants to go to intercession. We need to go to the Lord. And so she tells Mordecai, I want you to go to the community and I want you to have every single person that is willing to fast for 3 days and pray that God would intervene, that somehow, some way that he would be the way maker in this situation. Can I tell you, ladies, if you don't have a community, find somebody. Find somebody. Find somebody who will be there for you on those good days, on those bad days, on those days you are just, you're up to here with your kids, or you might be up to here with your husband, whatever it may be, and you just needing some encouragement, you're needing some love, letting you know that you are not alone. You need community. If you are not plugged in, can I just tell you, ladies, you need to get plugged into Women's Life. Tomorrow night, 6:30, and you're like, I didn't make it to any other ones. It doesn't matter. You can jump in at any point, but there are ladies there who are willing to connect, wanting to connect because they know the benefit of doing life with others. So Esther, she seeks the Lord, but she also gathers a community around her to help her through these trying times. My third point to you today is this: have courage. Have courage. Do you know courage? It doesn't mean that you're not afraid. Courage means you are afraid, but you're going to do it anyways. That's courage. You know it might be challenging. You know it might be difficult. You know it might seem impossible, but you're going to have courage and you are going to take a step. Esther, she at the end of this fast, she goes and she presents herself to the king. And she's ready to die because this is such a big deal, because she knows the entire nation is about to be destroyed. She goes in, and I don't know if she walked in, just a little bit hesitant, but remember that whole thing, if he hadn't summoned her, that he has the right to be able to kill her. So she walks in. He sees her. He knows her. He knows her track record. He knows the favor that's on her life. He takes out that gold scepter, extends it out. And I'm sure Esther on the inside is like, oh, thank you, God. Welcomes her in. Says, what can I do for you? Now, she doesn't ask the question right then and there or tell the problem right then and there. But what she does is she says, hey, I want to throw a banquet for you. I want you to invite all the officials and whatnot. I want to throw this banquet for you. Does this first night of the banquet, and then she does it again. I want to throw another banquet for you. She's softening up the king to hear what's about to happen. At the end of this second banquet, then he's like, well, what is it that you want? What can I do for you? And then she said, the Jewish people are about to be killed. I'm a Jewish person. Your official, Haman, has misled you. He's been lying to you. And the king hears this. And this is when the story changes. It goes from rated G to R. The king gets mad. The king actually impales Haman on a really, really, really high stake in the community. But then the king is wondering, what do I do? Because I've already signed this into law. I can't go against the law. So what should I do? So then Esther, she goes to Mordecai, and Mordecai comes in and what can we do? How can we work around this? And Mordecai comes up with this plan and says, hey, well, what if we write a new law that says that the Jewish people, that they can actually defend themselves? So the king says, this is a great idea. And so when the time comes that the Jews are supposed to be killed, they're able to defend themselves. And then the other people are like, nah, we don't want anything to do with that. Esther saves her nation. She saves her people. Her cousin also, because of his wisdom in this situation, he gets raised to be in that position that Haman once was in. You see, God had positioned and qualified them for such a time as this. They may not have always understood all the intricacies of how did I end up here? Why am I good at this thing? Or why am I in this relationship with this friend or coworker? Why am I in this job? And you wonder why am I this mom? Why am I? And God has positioned you and qualified you. Find strength in Him by reaching out to Him, because He's made it available to you. But you have to be courageous. You have to be courageous. There's going to be times where you have to stand in the gap, whether it's for your marriage, whether it's for your kids, whether it's for your business, your community, where you have to stand in the gap. But remember, you're not alone. You have a God who has loved you, positioned you, qualified you for such a time as this.